I'm excited for this webinar. So the webinar is Know Your Visitors, and we are announcing our partnership with Advan here. Although I've been working with John for quite a bit with Advan's acquisition of the REI platform, he's very familiar with our segmentation. But we have some really new things to show you today, some unique uses of segmentation in mobile data that I've not even seen. So I am pumped to walk you guys through this. While we go through this, we're going to show you the integration of the PersonaLive segmentation within Advan. If you have questions, at the bottom, when you hover over the little Zoom controls, there will be a little thing that will say Q&A. Put your questions in there. I love Q&A. Makes these interactive. And yeah, use the chat as well. I've got that pulled up over here to the right, and I'll be watching it, and we will be looking at that. Let me go through an agenda for us today. So some of you are new to Spatial and PersonaLive. Some of you are new to Advan. So we're just going to do an intro of both of our companies. We'll talk about the problem that we are solving here and then the solution. John has got a great demo for you guys. We'll walk through a case study and do a Q&A at the end. Again, ask us questions in that Q&A. My name is Leiden Faust. I'm the CEO of Spatial, and I am joined here by John.
Hey, thanks, Leiden. Would we be able to go to the next slide with the Advan stuff? Okay, great. Yeah, so just to give a quick intro for those who may not be familiar with myself or with Advan, my name's John, and I had spent about 10 years at Retail Stat creating products for retailers, landlords, and others to make more well-informed real estate decisions. And I'm doing the same here at Advan since they had acquired the real estate intelligence platform. And a little bit about Advan. Advan has been one of the leading providers of alternative data to the real estate investment community and institutional investment community since 2015. But in more recent years, we've been shifting our focus to landlords and retailers by leveraging mobile data, sales estimates, and building out new products and partnerships, like this one with Spatial. And excited to show you some of the ways we're leveraging it in the upcoming demo.
Cool. And if you haven't heard about Spatial before, we do customer segmentation and competitive insights for retail brands. Ultimately, now through direct and our partners, there's over 750 retailers that are using this to rank their best customer segments, reach them, whether that means we're reaching them on a map or we're reaching them through social media, paid advertising, and ultimately resonate with those people because we can understand them so deeply. Okay, so what's the problem that we are trying to solve here? The problem is that we all intuitively know that people are more than their demographics, but our tools just don't reflect this today. And when we think about what are our tools for customer segmentation, there are a few that are there in everyone's toolkit. So let's take a look at the segmentation landscape for what options do we have to segment and understand our customers, whether that means our mobile data walking into our stores or our CRM data where people are purchasing from e-commerce, et cetera. So one thing that we can use is those people's demographics. And if you're in GIS, what you're probably using here is the demographic characteristics of census block groups. This is a good place to start. But again, people are more than their demographics. So how do we try to add that in there? In the 1970s, they discovered psychographics, which is a study of people based on where they live. So what psychographic does is it uses k-means clustering to cluster groups of similar people based on their block group characteristics, and then we'll apply MRI survey of the American consumer on top of that. That gives you some mindsets, interests, and attitudes, but it also gives you what might those people do. Here's where we really felt like there was an opportunity is a segmentation of people, not based on what they might do or how they respond on a survey, but a segmentation of people based on what they actually do. And that's PersonaLive. Okay, what do I mean by a segmentation of people based on what they do? The first thing that we use is social media. This is where we got our start. We're looking at what people follow. I think that gives you a good picture of their aspirations. Secondly, we look at their mobile device visitation. Are they showing up at high income restaurants or budget? Third thing we look at is individual records. This is individual demographics at the address level. This is why my 85-year-old neighbor lady is a different segment than me. Even though that we are in the same block group, we're going to show up as different segments. But there are some power to census effect or neighborhood effects. Things like diversity index is something that you can only get at a neighborhood level. So we do add census block group information in there. And then finally, we use a credit card information to see how much are those people spending on a particular brand. And ultimately, what that gives you is a segmentation that is live and based on what they do. So I'm going to skip over here to show you one of our segments so you get a feel for this live component and actually segmenting people based on what they do. In fact, I'm going to go back. One of my favorite segments, it's Fusion Families. They're a pretty high income segment. A lot of these folks in Texas making 150 to $200,000. But if you look at what they're actually spending money on, for the most part, they're not spending a lot on retail, not what you would expect people of that particular income group to spend on, with the exception of private schools and music lessons. So what's going on there? Well, if you look really closely, oftentimes they are first or second generation immigrants, and they have a totally different value set. And that is the power of segmenting people based on what they actually do. Because if you put a retail location in there and you expect them to spend like most people making 200,000, they're not going to spend like that. That's what I love about this because I think people are fascinating. But you can see everything from what are these people talking about right now. So kids are probably talking about Nintendo Switch, the types of retail that these people are visiting. We can look at their in-store visitation, and this right here is through the Advan data, and we can look at that across any region. So I mentioned Texas. So this is their locations that they visit in Texas in particular. Brand influence. These are the brands they follow on social media. And then channels. This is where you can actually reach them. So we're getting that real-time picture of these folks. Okay, so that is a little bit about the PersonaLive segmentation. Now, the real power is, okay, these segments are great. They're really interesting. But what segments actually matter? And you're going to go to Advan to pick up the segments that are going to be strategic for your brand and strategic for your choices. And I'm going to have John do a demo of that.
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, just sent in a screen share request. Here we go. Okay, there it is. So here we have the REI Real Estate Intelligence Platform. We're going to show how we can combine Advan data with PersonaLive to create some actionable insights here. And in this example, we're going to go over to Waterview Town Center back in 2024 before they added Sprouts to their tenant roster. Now, from the perspective of Sprouts, if I were considering opening a location here, one of the first things I'm going to want to do is make sure that Waterview's typical visitor lines up with my typical customer. And to do that, we're going to focus here on the mobile trade area. Now, for those who are not familiar with mobile trade areas, it differs from more traditional methods of using a radius or a drive time by taking the estimated home location of where your actual visitors are coming from. And we have it broken down in 4 different shades here. So the darker the shade, the more people are coming from that particular area. And for those who are already familiar with mobile trade areas, they're not all created equally, and there's a lot of work done to remove demographic biases and geographic biases and normalization. So if you are already utilizing mobile trade areas, I would highly recommend you take a look at ours as well. And now that we have it for Waterview Town Center, let's compare it to a typical Sprouts location to see if it's a good fit. I'm going to go up here to the retailer footprint tool, and I'm going to type in Sprouts. And what the retailer footprint will do is it's going to add every Sprouts location within 100 miles of my point of interest to create a little bit of a benchmark so we can compare their customer to our customer. And we defaulted to 100 miles just to rule out any kind of regional differences. But you can make it nationwide if you're looking at a new market, or make it smaller if you want to go more local. So here we have them listed on the right with their distance and visitation. And we have them plotted on the map with their shared customers to Waterview Town Center. So the one over here to the north is sharing 4% of Waterview's existing customers. So it seems like there would definitely be enough room to add another Sprouts to this market. Scrolling down a little bit, we have the demographics side by side. But where it gets even more powerful is the PersonaLive section. So here we have the top 5 segments of Waterview Town Center against the top 5 of the typical Sprouts. And we see a lot of commonality here. Fusion families are both of their #1 segment at 19 and 20%. They also share Raising the Bar and Suburban Chic in their top 5 with really close percentages. And it's really, really rare that you'll ever see all 5 matching, but 3 of them matching this closely is pretty well aligned. So assuming we took this information and we've done some more due diligence by utilizing Advan's other tools and some boots on the ground intelligence from our local brokers, and we decided to open up here in Waterview Town Center. What we want to do now is we want to let everybody know that we're coming to town. So to do that, let's activate a targeted ad campaign for them. I'm going to cast a little bit of a wider net than our mobile trade area by dropping a 10-mile radius ring. And we see here that it pretty closely encapsulates our mobile trade area within 10 miles, but we have added about 60,000 more people to our population in doing so. So going down a bit more, it looks like the segments are pretty similar to that of the trade area overall. Let's focus in on fusion families as our #1 segment within 10 miles. So by clicking on it, we'll get a little bit more information on what it means to be a fusion family segment. Kind of like Leiden was showing before, these are family-centered, suburban, high-income households who still visit the mall. And compared to the national average, they over-index in terms of median household income, home ownership, and likelihood of a college degree or children in their household. And more importantly, using our visitation data, we see that they're way more likely to go to a Sprouts than the average person. So now that we've found our target segment, and we could do this for multiple ones at a time, I'm going to activate an ad campaign on the top right. And that's going to open up the Spatial.ai iframe from where we can actually create an audience by selecting our channel that we want to market to them. I'll select X for now. And I'll go to the segment of fusion families that we identified. That's going to give us an audience size of 10 million, but that's for the entire US. And I'm really only interested in the Houston DMA for now, because that's where we'll be opening up. So I'm going to go ahead and select Houston, which brings it down to 750,000, and hit next. And now we have a specifically targeted campaign for just those living in the surrounding area of Waterview Town Center, ready to download and upload into our marketing campaign. So now fast forwarding a little bit, it's September 2025, and we've been open for about a month here in Waterview Town Center. And things are going pretty well, but they can always be going better. So what I want to do now is I want to take a look at those who are not visiting quite as often as we would like, but do live within our mobile trade area. So I'm going to go back to trade area at the very top. And under advanced settings, I'm going to say only show me the areas where people are visiting a below average amount. And now we have our underserved customer represented by the 2 lighter shades in our trade area. And if we go down to the bottom, we can take a look to see if there are any new segments that weren't showing up before. And it looks like we have #3, Mixed Mecca. And by clicking on them, we can see that Mixed Mecca are diverse, blue-collar and service workers living in dominantly Asian and Hispanic urban neighborhoods. But would it make sense to send them a campaign to go to Sprouts? It looks like they have about average likelihood to go to Sprouts, just as likely as anybody else. So I think we can expect to get a modest boost in visitation by sending them specific promotions like we did before. So now to recap, we've used Advan and PersonaLive to validate the Waterview Town Center would be a good fit for Sprouts. We let everybody know that we were coming to town. And then after opening, we send another marketing blast to our underserved customer. The last thing I'd like to do here is to take a bite out of our competitors' market share. So to do that, instead of a retailer footprint, I'm going to add in one specific location, and that'll be the nearest Whole Foods. So by typing in Whole Foods, I'm pulling up all the nearby ones, sort of from closest to furthest. And if I select this one here in Katy, Texas, about 5 miles away, we have our overlapping customers shaded here in orange. Now, if I wanted to go after their customer, I'm more interested in their highest contributing customer. So rather than the closest trade area, I want to represent the trade area by the highest contributing customers. And rather than this blotch of orange, I want to see exactly where our overlap is. So I'm going to shade our hexagons by where the majority of overlapping customers are. And that'll change it from orange to a red scale. So where we have darker shades of red is where we share more customers with this nearby Whole Foods. And you can see here that now that we're focusing on the highest percentage, the trade area is a little bit less contiguous, looks less like a radius, and has more beneficence on the actual customer who's going there most frequently. Going down to the bottom, let's see if there are any customers of Whole Foods that are not in our top five. And we see here that babies, burps, and blessings are unique to Whole Foods and not ones that are in our top five segments. So lastly, if we wanted to maybe take a chunk out of their market share, we can send a campaign specifically to babies, verbs, and blessings in the Houston DMA, just like we did before, and hopefully get one more boost to our visitation. And I could probably spend all day going through different use cases like this one, but I know we need to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So I'm going to pass the screen back to Leiden.
One thing I'd say, John, is I've not seen that shared hexagon approach of like, okay, let's look at where we should be winning, but our competitors like obviously beating us right now. And I just think that's really cool. Like it's a really obvious visual and it's a really obvious strategy. And sometimes with customer insights, the question is, what do you do with it? And that one's like, it's really clear. I think you guys have done a really good job on it. I want to share a case study here from a client, Brixmor, from a real estate intelligence standpoint. So they were trying to open a potential grocery and they had an open anchor. And they really felt like, hey, this particular community would love an organic grocer. But the sender like barely met the demographic scorecard for that particular grocer. And so what they did, because they felt some conviction, like, no, I know this community would love this. They looked at some of the PersonaLive segments and they saw that, okay, but they barely made that demographic scorecard. But I'm looking at what these people are doing, and these people are following brands like Athleta. They're going to the Fresh Market. They're going to Whole Foods, Bar 3, Cycle Bar. So attitudinally, these people are exactly what an organic grocery company would be looking for. And they were able to use that to add to the story of the deal. And they were able to open a Trader Joe's in that particular center using these insights. What I love about that is it matches the community, and that made a huge difference for that asset, and it made a huge difference for that community. And the community just got the story painted of them that is actually true because those people were really interested in those types of things. Cool. I want to show two other use cases that you can do within the Advan platform. One is customer list segmentation. So if you have customer data, so let's say you're a retailer and you have address data of your customers, you have CRM data. If you're a restaurant and you have some loyalty data, you can segment all that. What's great about that is you know how much those people are contributing because you have a ticket size for them. So I'm going to show you the use case of customer list segmentation. Let's see. So back in here, in the PersonaLive platform, you can go to the append tool, and then you can add a customer list. So I've got a little customer list here. And if you have a first name, last name, and email of that person, and especially their address, you can add that in there. If you don't have any of those and you just have the location and their first name and last name, you can do a point radius around that and look for that person. So I'm just going to drop this in. So I've got a dummy data set here that I dropped in. Just got to put the CSV in there, and we're going to segment every single one of those customer records. So you can see from the CSV I just put in here, which is a dummy donation data set, I've just matched all my column names. And then I also have a column for how much does each one of those people donate. And I just call that a value metric and hit next. And what that's going to do is I'm just pushing that through. That's going to segment every single one of my records. And then I can analyze the results of that segmentation. So here is the list. I just uploaded. And now, in the same way that you can get your mobile distribution, you can get your customer distribution as well. So I can see for that particular file I uploaded 15% ultra wealthy families as a segment. And so we can go through segments, the age ranges of those people, income ranges, married, children, gender, et cetera. So you can get some of those demographic attributes. But the real power here is you can see how much they actually contributed to your bottom line. So right now I'm just averaging out across all of the donations I got for each segment, how much they donate on average. In this case, Sunset Boomers, high income, wealthy boomers. They donate $349 on average. The average is $98. These people donate 3 times as much as the average. So, what can you go do with that? You can either go map it and find where those people are, or you can activate media against that. So, I want to hit activate groups. It selects my top three. Maybe I want to get the ultra wealthy families in there too. And then it pushes it over into an advertising campaign. So I can go and target those people wherever I want to. So I can throw it into Meta, etc. And just so you know what this looks like when it comes across, go to my ads manager. If you go to your audiences, these segments show up as targetable audiences in your Meta account. Okay, so that's that. And the last thing I wanted to show you is not only can you do this for your brand, you can do it for any brand. We've got an explore tool. And if you hit mobile device visits over here, we can look at, let's say, did we just do Sprouts? Let's do Sprouts. We can hit Sprouts and we can look at the top segments that visit Sprouts. We can look at the top segments that visit Whole Foods, for example. So you can do that with your brand or you can do it with a competitive brand as well. And you can also do this. Let's just do Lululemon for who follows your brand, which again, it's a little bit more aspirational. So if I go to social media following, I can go to Lululemon and then I can go see who follows Lululemon. And obviously, if I want to hit that on a map, I just hit map and it'll push it over into a mapping tool. So I'm just mapping my top segments here. And I can go anywhere across the United States and I can find the different census block groups or zip codes that have the highest amount of, in this case, what we're looking at is the top Lululemon customers. So I might want to do that, find out, okay, these are the zip codes in Salt Lake City. I find, all right, in this little area in Lehigh is a lot of, let's go CBG, a lot of Lululemon customers that are living here. Now I can go back to Advan. I can find the retail in those locations and make sure not only are they living here, are they actually showing up in that with their foot traffic as well. Cool. Last little case study for you guys here. We had a customer, SeaQuest. They have 14 different aquarium locations across the United States. They will often show up in malls. And they started seeing their sales slip for the first time since COVID. And they got a new CMO. His name is Patrick. And Patrick had a feeling like, I know we say our best customer is moms, but do we know that for certain? Is there any nuance to that? And they reasonably assumed, okay, we target low income moms. That's what we target. When they uploaded all their ticket sales through the append feature, what they found surprised them. First of all, they were right. Moms were the big customer for them, but they were a lot higher income than what they expected. The second thing surprised them. 1/3 of their customers were actually young professional singles. So they had an idea. Let's create a date night package. And they created a date night package. It's called SeaQuest Duo and launched it. And it remains till today their number one selling ticket package across all SeaQuest locations. What they did is they created an advertising campaign that promoted date night and they targeted those date night specific young professional audiences across all their locations with that specific message on Meta. And the results were, phenomenal. But then the next thing that came along, which was a bit of surprise to them, is they discovered a totally new pocket of customers coming on that they didn't expect, which was dads started taking their daughters on a date through the SeaQuest Duo date night. So I love this. This is just a really obvious thing. Once you actually know who your customers are, you can make some really big strategic moves. Okay, that's what we have for you guys today. I want to jump into Q&A. If you guys have liked anything that you've seen today and you're curious about what this would look like for your brand, John has offered to do a free consultation to analyze a brand or POI of your choosing on the Advan platform. With that, I want to start getting into Q&A. Um, so go ahead and start asking questions in the Q&A, and I see we already have one. Okay. This is a fantastic tool. Who would I reach out in order to trial and get pricing parameters? Yeah, reach out to John at advanresearch.com. Thank you. Great. Um, we got another question here. How did you determine the audiences that were visiting below average? John, that might be for you.
Yeah, sure. So we took a look at all the blocks and block groups where people were coming from, and we estimate that based on where their device spends the majority of time overnight. And then from a geographic perspective, which areas were contributing the least amount of visitation to these sprouts, but were still within the mobile trade area. So we took a look at the median amount of visitation at the block level, and we just kind of cut it in half. So if they're going above average or below average, and we break it down into four different shades by quartile.
Cool. Hopefully that answers that question. Let us know in the Q&A. How does the retail footprint work?
So what we do is we take all the locations by default within 100 miles to account for any kind of regional differences that we may want to leave out. But you can make it nationwide if you're looking at a new market where you may not have a location within 100 miles, or you can bring it more local for more QSR or densely populated retailers. And once we take all their locations, we then average them together within the set to look at their mobile trade areas and what kind of customers are in those mobile trade areas typically. But we do a lot of other stuff with it too. We take a look at, on average, what times of day, what days of the week do people tend to visit more often than others for this brand? Is the brand in general inclining in traffic or declining in traffic within your given set? So, yeah, there's a lot more features to it than we had time to show here today.
Yeah. Cool. I'm not seeing any other questions. If you have a question, you got about 15 seconds to ask it before we close up. Hey guys, thank you for coming out today, for joining us. Again, if this is interesting to you, John has graciously offered to do some custom demo for you. So it's John at advanresearch.com. Hope to see you guys, and don't feel afraid to reach out. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.